Hey, this is Cornelius Lindsey, and welcome to the Silent Majority. You know, with growing partisan distaste amongst many voters, there's a silent majority that's growing that doesn't find a home in either of America's two major political parties. People don't know how to identify themselves, and a large number of people are simply not voting. Of all the voters, many people are just unsatisfied with either the candidates or the system. This silent majority is growing, and we have something to say. Welcome to the Silent Majority.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Silent Majority. We are going to recap night 3 of the Republican National Convention. I'm joined again by my good friend, Mr. Stephen Ivey. He has entered into the fray and he got something to say. And I also have something to say, but you know what, Stephen, I'm going to give it over. Man, you're my guest for these 4 days. So I want to ask you, was there somebody who stood out? Was there somebody who was just a complete bust? What you got?
Man, I'm gonna be honest, man. I almost wanted to do a little slow clap on some of these tonight, man.
Come on,
you know, listen,
I'll give it to you.
Slow clap.
Come
man.
on.
You know, here's the thing. I will go on record and say this: tonight was the best night thus far.
Tonight wasn't just the best night thus far. Tonight was better than the Democratic National Convention.
Oh my goodness! Now let's not go too far.
Be honest.
Too far.
Be honest. Be honest.
Tonight was the best night so far, but I don't think you can say this night was better than the entire DNC.
It was better than the whole doggone thing. You want to know why? Because of the consistency. I don't care what you thought about the message. I don't care what you thought about the message. It was the consistency from all the speakers. Either it was from, I thought Jack Brewer, the black guy. Yeah, I thought Jack Brewer did an awesome job being extremely authentic, being extremely transparent.
Did a phenomenal job. He was one of the guys that really stood out tonight. You know, and especially from a sense of empathy and really reaching across the aisle.
Yep.
And even in a lot of ways, showing how he feels personally about Donald Trump in an authentic way. I felt like he was strong. He was very strong.
He was talking to black people. He made it clear. He was talking to black people.
Yes.
Going as far as saying that little quote that he said, his mom always said, when God starts blessing, then the devil starts messing. Black folk in church, we all know the saying. We all been through it. But I thought he did an amazing job. Madison Hawthorne.
And he was a lifelong Democrat. So I think that's what made it more convincing, is that he had previously been a Democrat who is now a part of an organization, I believe, about I don't know if it's called Black for Trump. I don't know exactly what it's called, but he's a part of an organization that's specifically to support Trump as Black
Voices
Americans.
For Trump.
So yeah. So
I mean, you also had the young guy in his 20s. I think he's like 20, 25, 24, something like that. Matthew Hawthorne.
He was phenomenal.
If elected, he'll be the youngest member in the House of Representatives, but he'll also be the youngest, not only be the youngest member in the House of Representatives, I know he'll be the youngest Republican.
Yeah.
But the moment got me when he stood up.
When he stood up at the end.
When he stood up at the end.
For those who don't know, he's in a wheelchair. He is paralyzed from the waist down. And he stood up at the end of, they brought out a walker.
You saw that?
Stood up. I saw it, man.
And then he stood up and he kept talking. Tonight was a night about triumph. Tonight was a night about triumph. Tonight was a night about victory. Tonight was a night about touting the successes. I don't care what you think about the message itself. Speaker after speaker after speaker went down the line and said, Trump did this. Trump delivered this. Trump did this. Trump kept his promises. Trump said it. Trump did it. And then one of the other things that was very consistent throughout the whole thing, it was about Trump. It was the same thing we go back to on the first night: rhetoric versus results. And that is, right. I know you don't like his tone, but did he get the results done?
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. Tell me about Mike Pence's speech. I know you watched it. Tell me, what do you think?
Man, I saw his speech. I saw his speech, but I have to say, of course, we all know that out of the two, Trump or Pence, obviously appears more presidential. I believe the way he carries himself and the way he speaks is very presidential. And of course, he did the same thing in line with everyone else in the sense of talking about, Trump did this. He kept his word to America. Trump is a doer in a city full of talkers, things like this. He kept saying that, Trump rebuilt our military, Trump bought jobs. But, when it comes to these speeches, bro, I got to be honest. You got to fact check. You got to fact check because I think there's a slanted view when you come to talk about things like adding more jobs and, prosecuting people who tear down statues. Like, we got to start talking about the nitty gritty of what these things mean because there's a lot of bias and, if we're going to be honest, a lot of underlying racism, that we have to at least bring out into the fray a little bit, because these are the kinds of things I like to fact check. So, he talked about rebuilding our military. We can talk about that. In the grand scheme of things, I don't know a lot about that. I just know they threw a bunch of money at the military. So if that's called rebuilding our military, then you can definitely say that. But throwing $2 trillion at the military ain't necessarily rebuilding it. You know what I mean?
He had it. Okay, keep going.
I mean, that's just part of the conversation there. But then, we talk about these jobs, and if you were to survey America by and large, I think a lot of people would be like, where? But where though? We never talk about the industries they come in. We never talk about, who's getting these jobs, but we have all these statistics and numbers to spot off. And even if we do, see some increase in job growth, what type of jobs are they? To say we have more jobs, but the jobs can't still support the normal basic needs of the American and still can't afford insurance and still don't have access to healthcare. Like, it doesn't speak to a better America to spout off these numbers without some real fact checking behind it.
Well, and the people who, especially people who need the jobs, who want the jobs, and who quite frankly are looking for the jobs, they look at that and they say, okay, well, you added jobs, but where? I believe that many of those numbers came from companies that reopened back up, like in states like the great state of Texas and in Georgia, in Florida, in different states that opened their doors back up, and they said, okay, these factories, they can start running again. Like, Elon Musk, who said, hey, I'm gonna reopen. I have to. These people, they need to get back to work. They need to start working again. Even though American Airlines just laid off, I believe 100,000 or so employees. It was different. It was different. Airlines at the time that were bringing in more flight attendants, people who guide the airplanes in. All those different men and women were brought back into the workforce, and that's because Trump is saying, and a lot of things that Trump said, you have to do your fact check. The average voter does not really recognize it. Like, they said something tonight and they said, because of Donald Trump, then now we have opportunity zones, which in actuality, that was Senator Tim Scott out of the great state of South Carolina. That wasn't necessarily Donald Trump. But in saying this happened under a Donald Trump presidency.
Trump America. Yeah.
And they kept saying, this is Trump's America. This is Trump's America. One interesting thing that Mike Pence said, at the end of it, he just started going. He started painting two different pictures of America. This is what Biden-Harris America will look like. This right here. This is what Trump's America will look like. And he said, what's on the ballot box? And he said, the choice in this election is whether America will remain America.
Bro, when he said that, it was probably one of the most poignant parts of his message because it really drew a line in the sand of how they want to cast fear into the hearts of people. To me, when I hear a statement like that, immediately people go, whoa, like, you mean if I don't vote for Trump, America's going to shift into some anomaly that we don't recognize? And I think that's a bit of a reach, to say that was a very strong statement. And, if we're going to look at his speech and even a few other speeches from tonight, in that vein of America remaining America, they quoted Martin Luther King a lot, and they mentioned Martin Luther King a lot. MLK this and MLK that. Even the young man we were just talking about, 20-year-old, he mentioned MLK several times in his speech. Yeah. And so, so the reason why this is important is because in the same breath they're mentioning how rioting is wrong, right? And how, the riots, we'll prosecute anybody at the full extent of the law who tear down statues and who riot in America. And yet you can't say in the same breath that you'll prosecute the cops who kill innocent people. Like, that's what you're not saying. And then you'll quote MLK on some things, but then you'll say, but then the one quote you won't say about MLK is rioting is the language of the unheard. Like, he said that too, so riots don't just come out of nowhere. So I
thought he said protesting.
Say what now?
I thought it was protesting is the language of the unheard. I'm going to look that up.
No, rioting is the language of the unheard.
Keep going,
I'm telling you, so it's just a reality, man. Like, to understand that these things don't just happen out of nowhere. If Pence got up there and